Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. for small businesses across the UK. If you've got any questions during this session, then please do add them into the comments of the live feed that you're watching this on, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you need any more advice, then please also join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. There's accountants and business experts such as myself on there 24/7 answering people's questions and sharing our knowledge and experience. During the live feed, we'll also be running a poll, so please engage with that. And what I'll do is I'll reveal the results at the end of the show. So my name's Johann Goree. I'm the Managing Director of the OnPoint Accounting Group. I've got a group of accounting firms underneath our brand that are out supporting small businesses in specialist fields. So I've wanted to touch base on the pandemic again. I spoke a few weeks ago about the amount of people getting pinged and how it's impacting small businesses. And in the last week, one of the most regular asked questions we've had is, am I able to apply as a small business for the exemption to isolation scheme that the English and Scottish governments are running? Ultimately, what it's boiled down to is no, you can't. Most small businesses weren't seen as crucial enough to the country's infrastructure to be able to apply successfully for the exemption scheme. So what we've had to go back and do is advise our clients to look at the tips and hints that I gave a few weeks ago. I'm just going to go through those again this week. The silver lining to this is that on the 16th of August for England, anyone that's double vaccinated is exempt from self-isolation for 10 days if they get a notification to say they've been in close contact. We're expecting some kind of update on those rules for Scotland tomorrow, in amongst all the other rules ready for the 9th of August. And that uplift of rules. So at the moment, only firms and companies that are crucial to the country's running, such as logistic firms, food production, healthcare, etc., can apply for exemption from the isolation rule when you get notified of a close contact. Most small businesses haven't qualified to be able to apply for that from what we've seen so far. So the pandemic is causing a lot of staff shortages. It's causing a nightmare from a logistical point of view, trying to run a business to make sure you've got enough staff in. As soon as a couple of people go off to self-isolate, that puts a lot of pressure on the rest of the team. So my top tips last time when I spoke about this were to encourage your staff to get the vaccination, because when that rule in England comes in on the 16th of August, if they're double vaccinated, then that's great. They don't have to follow the isolation rule. However, you cannot force someone to be vaccinated. Equally, if there's someone who's double vaccinated and they get notified of being a close contact and they want to self-isolate, you can't punish them or be punitive towards them because of that choice. It's their choice. It would just help us as business owners with that new rule on the 16th of August in England. So all the top tips that we gave out last time were things like getting your team to do regular lateral flow tests. Everyone can apply for free lateral flow tests online. They get posted out to you. They're relatively simple to do. We encourage our staff to do one the night before they come back from a day off or any time off, because that way, if they've caught COVID between last day of work and coming back to work, we can stop them from coming back into work and infecting anyone who's in the workplace and any customers. So that's worked very well in a lot of small businesses, especially restaurants, bars, and retail. So that's been really helpful. Try and split your teams into working hubs. So if you've got a restaurant, you might have a couple of teams of kitchen staff. So team A and team B don't come into contact with each other in the workplace. That helps reduce the risk of contact, or if anyone in team A gets pinged, team B is still able to come in and work. Same front of house with your waiters and waitresses, and any working environment where you can try and keep some segregation and separation is a bonus. Now, remember, you can't enforce these rules outside of the workplace. So if someone from team A wants to go and meet someone from team B for a pint and they get pinged, then that's that's the worst case scenario, but you can't force them to not socialize outside of work. So it's really important that you look at doing that. Also, just keep all your cleaning standards, etc. up. There was a report out this morning that the universities have done a study in major train stations. They did it in June and January this year. They did it in a London train station, Manchester, Liverpool, and one other, I can't remember off the top of my head. But what they found is that there was absolutely no trace of COVID on any heavily contacted surface areas or in the air because of the rate of cleaning. So that shows how effective cleaning surfaces, good ventilation, etc. is. So it's really important we take that lesson and we keep continuing our good work in our workplaces, because if we can keep the places clean, that helps reduce contact of COVID. So they're the main bits. Try and have separate team hubs if you can, if you're big enough. If you're not a huge issue. Encourage staff to be vaccinated, because on the 16th of August, if they don't want to isolate after they've been a close contact and they're double vaccinated, then they can continue working. The positive impact for them is that the financial situation, that they are going to have a loss of income for that 10 days of self-isolation when they're on statutory sick pay, which is a lot smaller than normal income. Lateral flow tests, they're free on the internet from gov.uk. Get some ordered, get your team to order each of them, delivered to the home. It's a 2-minute job to do, and then 30 minutes later you get a result. So most people I'm talking to are doing a lateral flow test every 3 days, and then they are doing one the night before they come back from any time off, just to prevent them taking anything into the workplace that they perhaps don't want to. And then keep high standards of your cleaning, clean the surfaces after every customer, keep your face masks, etc. going, and just keep being proactive with it, is the key. Most of our clients have not been impacted too badly by the pandemic, although we are seeing a lot of the pubs and restaurants suffering in the wider news. We're certainly not seeing huge impact on our client base because they're being proactive with all this kind of thing. So we've had clients who would have had to shut down for 10 days if their staff member hadn't taken the lateral flow test the night before they came back from a holiday or from time off. So it's a really simple but proactive and effective step to do that. We've got clients who had to isolate a small team, but the rest of the team were okay because they didn't come in contact. Just being proactive and constantly working through it, that's the main keys to it. And just keep up to date with the rules. As I say, most small businesses are not able to apply for the exemption for the isolation rules. But on the 16th of August in England, double vaccinated people can choose not to isolate, but it is their choice, not the employer's. And we will have an update for Scotland, hopefully tomorrow, when Nicola announces the rules and how we're going to tackle that going forward in Scotland. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's given you some kind of insight. I know it's a topic I covered a few weeks ago, but I think it's really useful to refresh and recap it. And if you missed it last time, then you've got the hints this time. I will just start going through some questions rather than going on and on about lateral flow tests. So our first questions are in. Let's have a look. We've got Stan from Instagram. As a director of my LLC, should I be declaring only my dividend income when it comes to self-assessment, because my payee income has already been declared through payee? Okay, Stan, so what I would suggest is that you declare everything, because it saves HMRC having to work overtime to try and work out what's going on. So if you send a self-assessment in that doesn't have your payee stuff on it, and it's just got your dividend income, HMRC will look at your record and they'll go, oh, hang on, he's had some payee income as well. And they'll match it together, and they'll send you out a letter telling you they've got these records that are different to yours and this is what's going to happen. So also, by not declaring your payee income, you could be putting the wrong income down. You're paying your wrong tax for your dividends, because your dividends might take you over your higher income threshold, at which point there could be a change in your tax rates. So I always make sure that all of our clients put all their information into the tax return when we do it. So that's dividends, payroll, rental income, anything you've had, even if you pay tax on it, tell the taxman on your self-assessment tax return, just to make sure all the maths that you get when you put your self-assessment tax return online come back as being correct, and you don't get any nasty shocks later on. So I hope that helps, Stan. Our next question is from Alicia on Facebook Messenger. Looking to hire some new teammates, but everywhere I promote, I seem to be getting poor candidates. Is it worth engaging a recruitment agency? I'm worried it will get costly and we don't have much spare cash right now. Okay, that's a really good question, Alicia. Personally, I don't know what your business is, I don't know what you're recruiting for, but you do have to weigh up that cost consideration of the recruitment agency versus the wage and the benefit of getting that staff member in. What I would say is, if it's a high value role and the benefit that's going to bring to your business is big, then I would certainly look at getting a recruitment agency in if you're struggling to recruit yourself. If, however, it's not a huge high value, or if you're still not sure, it's probably worth having a look at the quality of your advert and the locations that you're posting it. There's a lot of people looking for work that are looking for changes of lifestyle, etc. out there. So it's definitely a good time to be advertising. But you just need to make sure that you're putting in what you're expecting from this candidate in your job advert. So a more detailed job advert might be appropriate. And also consider where you're posting it. So if you're posting it in on a cafe notice board compared to on a job recruitment website, you might get different quality of candidates. So have a look at the quality of the post of the advert, and have a look at the wording of that and see if there's anything you can put in there that will almost create an a barrier to entry, sorry. So you're going to put on there, for example, there's companies that work with children will put on there straight away that first thing they're looking for is someone with a clear criminal background check. And it's a barrier to entry for anyone that won't have that. So it automatically filters those people out that won't come back as clear on a criminal background check. So have a think about how you can put some barriers to entry on there to mean that the poorer quality candidates won't apply, saving you time to look for the better quality candidates that are applying. But yeah, have a look at the quality of the advert and have a look at the quality of the location that you're posting it, and hopefully that will help. Failing that, if you think the cost of a recruitment agency will pay off in the long run, then definitely worth having a chat with them. We've got a question from Glenn on Twitter DM. I don't fully understand the latest isolation rules. As a business, what are we fully legally required to do if an individual member or most of our staff get pinged? Okay, Glenn. So if any individual gets pinged at the moment, they have to go for a PCR test and they have to isolate for 10 days. As a business, that may mean you're short-staffed. So what you need to do is decide, can you operate safely as a business with the rest of your staff team that haven't been pinged or seen as a close contact? Or is it no longer safe to operate your business? And if so, you may have to close down until it is safe. Remembering, regardless of what's going on in the world, we've all got our risk assessments. We've all got health and safety to follow. And if you can't operate your business safely without X amount of staff, and you haven't got that amount of staff, then you need to shut down the business until you can do it safely. Otherwise, you could get yourself into trouble. So ultimately, the rules are if someone gets pinged or they're told they're a close contact, they have to go and get tested and they have to isolate for 10 days if that's what's been told by the track and trace from the government. You as a business owner need to allow them to isolate. You can't force them to work. You can't take someone's job away from them just because they've got to isolate. They've got all the same employee protection as they've always had if they were off sick. And you need to decide as a business, is it still safe for you to operate? Can you still deliver the standard of service you want to do? Could people do a few extra shifts to be able to carry on operate your operation? So yeah, I hope that helps, Glenn. But basically, it's all about safety and protecting staff and customers. We have got a message from Niall on Facebook Messenger. What could we be doing to reduce going off during the shutdown due to a pandemic? I run a restaurant and we use fresh ingredients. I don't want this to go to waste or just losing potential income. Okay, so the question is, Niall, how do we reduce produce waste if you have to shut down? So I've had a client who's a restaurant who had lots of fresh food in, but they had some of their staff got pinged, so they didn't have enough staff to operate the restaurant. So what they did is they took to social media and they thought back to when restaurants were closed down originally during the first lockdown, when all these restaurants turned to be takeaways. So it takes a lot less staff to run a takeaway business because you don't need anyone from the house than it does to run an open restaurant when you're serving tables. So if you've got produce and you've got enough staff to cook it, turn to your social media, tell people that you're closed due to staff isolating, but you're going to run a takeaway business for the next 10 days, and for them to come along, maybe put some incentives, some offers in there, create some exciting dishes that are going to travel well, and do that. So that way, the staff that can work, carry on working, the business stays open and keeps trading, even at a reduced rate. And you're not wasting any ingredients, etc., when you're closed. So hopefully that helps. Just think back to what did you do, or what did your competitors do if you didn't do it in the first and second lockdowns, so you can continue working. So hopefully that helps. Aubrey from Instagram DM. Hi, Johann. With all that is going on, do you think businesses that should just stay remote, or is it better to start transitioning back to the office? This is a really sensitive question in a lot of people's minds. There's people on both sides of the fence, and there's people on the fence. So, are we better to stay remote working? Are we better to start bringing people back in the office, insisting that they work in the office? We've personally given all of our staff the option. Each staff member can choose if they want to work in the office, or if they want to work remotely, or if they want a hybrid. It's entirely up to them. We have found in the last 16 months that actually we can operate just as well through Microsoft Teams, Zoom, etc., as we would have done if we were in the office. So we're letting people make their own choice, that personal decision, but we're giving them the ability to facilitate the range of options, basically. And I think that will be the most appreciated way of doing it by your staff, because some staff, like business owners, some business owners want their staff back in the office, some want them to stay remote. But then you've got some staff that want to stay remote and some staff that want to come back into the business and sit in the office. So you just need to work out what's going to be best for everyone. And we decided actually giving the staff the option and having the ability to do both was the best option, because that way we didn't upset anyone. Everyone can do what they want to do, that they feel comfortable to do, and the work's still being done. So we were quite happy with that solution. So hopefully that helps as a bit of a thought for how you move forwards. Matt on Twitter DM, I feel like there isn't, but I'll just check. Is there any financial support people or businesses have to isolate? On a national level, Matt, I don't think there is, but it's always worth checking with your council. So local councils have been all doing different things, supporting different aspects with various funding and grants, etc. So always check with your local council to find out if there is anything that you can apply for with them. But from a national level, apart from the furlough scheme, there isn't anything. And remember, the furlough scheme comes to an end at the end of next month. As we are now in August, it comes to the end of September. Our next question from Nelly on Facebook. As it's no longer against the law, I'm a bit confused what our rights are regarding refusing service to those who don't wear masks. I know other businesses are requesting people to wear them, and so are we, but do we have any legal rights? I'm not completely sure on this one. I live in Scotland myself, so in Scotland it is still required by law, and I don't think they're going to get rid of it before October now, to wear face masks when in public places. Full stop. That's the rule in Scotland. In England, yes, they have removed the restriction, the legal requirements to wear masks, but it's still advised as best policy, best action to wear a mask in England, even though they're not legally enforcing it. So I would be communicating, I'd put signs up, etc., asking that customers wear masks if that's what you feel comfortable with. If the customer doesn't want to wear a mask, then I don't think you've got any legal right to force them to, but you can certainly ask them to leave the business, leave the property, if that's not someone you're prepared to have in the property because they've not got a mask on. But it is a very grey area, and it's certainly something that it might be worth picking up with your local council as well. Speak to the health and safety people at your local council. They'll be able to advise you what you can and can't do without getting into trouble. So it might be worth talking to them, Nelly. Okay, our next question is from Damien on Twitter DM. If one of your employees gets pinged or they catch COVID and have to isolate, is it okay for them to still work from home? Yes, absolutely fine, Damien, as long as that's their choice. So at the 11 days ago, my fiance got pinged. So we both isolated. We went for our PCR tests. We've done lateral flow tests. We got negatives every time, but we still isolated. Now, my fiance couldn't work from home. That's not an option in her job because her job is in a business, in a property. It's customer facing. I worked from home all week. That's not an issue. It didn't stop me from doing any of my work. But if they get pinged or they catch COVID and they're feeling okay, some people don't get any symptoms from COVID. They just get a test saying they've got it. Other people get really bad symptoms and really struggle with it. So it's the employee's choice if they want to continue working from home, if that can be facilitated. So if they want to continue working during isolation and you're happy for them to work from home, then that's absolutely fine. Our next question is Kristen on Facebook Messenger. I've got two companies and do a lot of intercompany transactions, and we often pay off different expenses between them. Now one company is providing a service to the other in order to pay down the loan amount. How do I properly record these transactions? Hi, Kirsten. So what I would suggest is you go and have a chat with your accountant or bookkeeper. I would have 2 QuickBooks licenses. I'd send my expenses from one company to the other, and I'd send my transactions from one company to the other to pay off those expenses. And if one company is doing a service for another, so for example, if company A is a shop, company B is an accounting firm, then company B could be providing accounting services to the shop. So company B should just invoice company A as they normally would any other customer, and then you would either transfer the money or you'd have a counter account in your balance sheet. Basically, it's going to be much easier for you to go and talk to your accountant or bookkeeper and get them to map out the process for you with you so that you know it's going to go right. So I hope that helps. Right, we've got time for one last question from Delia on Instagram DM. When does furlough support end again? And what should we be doing to prepare for that now? It's hard to assess how much staff we will or won't need right now with everything still up in the air. Okay, so furlough ends on the 30th of September 2021. On the 30th, as of the 1st of October 2021, there is no furlough you can apply for. You can apply up until the 14th of October for the furlough from September. So it is hard to prepare now because we just don't know how busy you're going to be. But I would say have a look at August, at the end of August, have a look at how busy that was and work out if you're going to need to make any redundancies or anything like that, offer reduced hours for October onwards. Other than that, there's not much more you can do to prepare. It's just planning, having a look forwards, try and do a bit of a cash flow. That's always a helpful tool to have to work out how much staffing you can afford based on the current sales. Remember, last year we were opening and closing quite a bit. So whilst I normally advise you have a look at last year's figures, take it with a pinch of salt. We just don't know what's going to happen this year. But yeah, furlough ends at the end of September 2021. So you'll need to have plans in place for the 1st of October onwards. So I hope that helps. So in the poll, we have asked, has your business been affected by the pandemic? 100% of you said no, which is fantastic. Remember, I suppose it's down to the client, the audience we have today, but I know, I would say 5%, if that, of our client base has been affected by pandemics, and they're mainly restaurants and hotels, and they've not been, although they've had a ping, someone's been pinged, or they've had a few people pinged, it's not actually impacted on their operation because they've managed to keep COVID testing going on. They've managed to keep separate teams. People have picked it up when they've been off and they've spotted it the night before with a lateral flow test. So it's not impacted on their operation, but they have been aware, it has happened to them. But yeah, so it's good to know that no one on this show today has been impacted, but certainly just keep working hard to keep that, so that if there is an impact, it's minimal, basically. So thank you all for tuning in today, and thank you for your great questions. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do. You can send me a message on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Just search Johann Goree. And coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Clive Rich, a law tech entrepreneur and founder of LawBite, which streamlines access to business legal advice, which is always a good thing to have. Tune in to find out how to minimize legal risks to your business. And as a reminder, if you want any more advice throughout the day, please join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts such as myself are on there 24/7, answering questions and sharing experiences. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Really enjoyed answering all your questions this morning, and have a great day. Thank you.